There is a kind of discipline the world never sees coming. It does not arrive with noise. It does not announce itself on social media. It does not need an audience to exist. It lives quietly inside a person, reshaping them from the inside out, slowly and completely, until one day the people around them stop recognizing who they are looking at. This is the discipline Miyamoto Musashi built his entire life around. Most people know the name, undefeated in over 60 duels, never lost, never even came close. And the easy explanation is talent, or obsession, or some rare genetic gift that most people will never have. But that explanation is wrong, and Musashi knew it was wrong. He wrote about it. He lived against it. Because Musashi understood something that almost no one else did. The warrior who defeats every opponent is not the one who trains the hardest. He is the one who has already won the battle no one else can see. The battle inside himself. If you stay until the end of this video, you will understand the 3 disciplines that made Musashi undefeatable. Not just in duels, in life. And if you apply them, something will begin to shift in you that other people will not be able to explain. They will call you too focused, too quiet, too unbothered by things that used to shake you. Some will say you have changed. Some will not understand why you no longer need their approval or their noise or their chaos. And you will not bother explaining, because people with this kind of discipline rarely do. We begin with the first, the discipline of perception. Musashi wrote, "Perceive that which cannot be seen with the eye." Most people read that and think it sounds like a riddle, something poetic, something distant. But Musashi was not being poetic. He was being precise. He was describing the single most dangerous blind spot a human being carries through life. The inability to see themselves honestly, not harshly, not with self-punishment, honestly. Because here is what most people actually do. They move through their days believing they are doing the work. They believe they are being consistent. They believe that because they are busy, they are building something. And that belief, that quiet, comfortable lie, is the thing that keeps them exactly where they are for years without understanding why nothing has changed. Musashi called this the first battle. Not an opponent, not a challenge, yourself. The version of yourself that you have decided to believe in without ever checking whether it is true. He trained himself to look at his life the way he looked at an opponent before a duel. Without emotion, without ego, without the need for the picture to look a certain way. Just truth. Where are you negotiating with yourself and calling it flexibility? Where are you resting when you are actually retreating? Where are you calling something a plan when it is really just a way of not starting yet? These are uncomfortable questions. Musashi did not ask them to be cruel to himself. He asked them because he understood something most people never accept. You cannot build real discipline on top of a distorted self-image. The foundation will always give way. This is why the discipline of perception comes first. Before the habits, before the routines, before any of it. You have to be willing to see yourself without the flattering filter. To sit with the gap between who you are and who you keep telling yourself you are becoming. Musashi once left everything familiar behind. He wandered, not because he was lost, but because he wanted to meet himself in the silence, in the absence of distraction, in the space where there were no comfortable stories to hide behind. And in that space he began to see clearly. You do not have to leave your life, but you have to be willing to pause inside it, to look at your patterns without justifying them, to notice where your intentions and your actions are not actually the same thing, because when you finally do that, something unexpected happens. You stop waiting to feel motivated. You stop waiting for the right conditions. You stop waiting entirely. You simply begin to move. Because the illusion that was holding you back is no longer there. Perception is not the beginning of discipline, it is the doorway. And without walking through it, nothing else works. But seeing clearly is only half of it. Because insight without movement is its own kind of trap. Musashi understood this. He had no patience for the person who recognizes their patterns and then spends their life recognizing them. Awareness that never becomes action is just a more sophisticated form of avoidance. This is the second discipline. The discipline of action. And it is more subtle than most people expect. When people think about discipline and action, they picture intensity, early mornings, extreme effort, dramatic transformation. But Musashi trained differently. He did not chase intensity. He built rhythm. And he understood that these two things are not the same. Intensity is loud. It burns fast. It is fueled by emotion and circumstance and the feeling that today is the day everything changes. And then the emotion fades. The circumstance shifts. The feeling disappears. And the person who was relying on intensity finds themselves back at the beginning, wondering why it never sticks. Rhythm is different. Rhythm is quiet. It does not ask you how you feel. It does not wait for the conditions to be right. It simply moves again and again. Musashi repeated the same movements thousands of times, not because repetition was comfortable, but because repetition was the point. He was not training his hands, he was training his identity. He was teaching himself, through action repeated with complete sincerity, that this is who I am. This is what I do. Not when I feel like it, always. He wrote, "You win battles by knowing the enemy's timing and using a timing which the enemy does not expect. Most people have no timing at all. They start with fire, fall off within days, and only return when the guilt becomes too heavy to carry. That is not rhythm, that is reaction. And reaction cannot build anything lasting." Musashi built a timing that answered to nothing outside of himself. Not mood, not circumstance, not the approval of anyone watching. His rhythm was internal, and because it was internal, nothing could break it. This is the quiet truth about the discipline of action. You are not trying to feel strong. You are training yourself to move even when you feel nothing, to show up when there is no applause, to take the next small step even when the outcome is invisible, and slowly through that invisible work, you stop being someone who is trying to be disciplined. You become someone who simply is. There is a final shift that happens on this path, and most people never reach it. Not because they lack the ability, but because they do not realize it exists. It is the third discipline, the discipline of spirit. Perception teaches you to see yourself clearly. Action teaches you to move without waiting. But spirit is where the transformation becomes permanent, where discipline stops being something you practice and becomes something you are. In the final years of his life, Musashi wrote the Dokudo, 21 principles, each one simple on the surface, each one carrying the weight of a lifetime of refinement underneath. He was not writing for an audience. He was not building a legacy. He was recording what he had discovered after decades of stripping away everything that was not essential. And what he discovered was this: the most powerful version of a human being is not the most aggressive, not the most intense, not the most talented. It is the most aligned. The person whose inner world and outer actions are one piece. No contradiction. No secret war running underneath the surface. No gap between who they appear to be and who they actually are. Most people carry that gap their entire lives. They appear focused but feel scattered. They appear confident but privately negotiate with every difficulty. They move forward but drag resistance behind them like a weight they have never learned to put down. Musashi wanted to put it all down. He wrote, "Do not let the mind be clouded by desire or attachment." And he did not mean this as a warning against wanting things. He meant it as a path to freedom. Because the moment your stability depends on a particular outcome, a particular result, a particular person's perception of you, you have handed your center away. A person with disciplined spirit does not need the outcome to go a certain way to remain steady. They do not need praise to continue. They do not need the path to be comfortable to keep walking it. Their center is internal. And because it is internal, it cannot be touched by anything outside. This is why people who reach this level appear strange to others. They are not easily rattled. They do not chase chaos or create it. They do not need to perform their discipline for anyone. They move with a kind of calm that people around them cannot quite name. And what they cannot name they sometimes fear. And what they fear they sometimes call obsessive, or extreme, or cold. But it is none of those things. It is simply what it looks like when a person has stopped fighting themselves. Musashi ended his life painting, writing, observing. Not because he had given up on living, but because he had finally learned how to live completely. Without noise. Without need for validation. Without resistance to what was in front of him. His discipline had become his nature. That is the invitation here. Not to become harsh. Not to become rigid. Not to isolate yourself from the world or declare yourself above it. But to become so rooted in your own clarity, your own rhythm, your own alignment, that nothing outside of you can pull you away from the path you have chosen. People may not understand it. Musashi would tell you that is fine. That which is genuine does not require explanation. One day you will stop trying to explain yourself. You will stop defending your habits, justifying your focus, apologizing for your seriousness. You will simply live it, quietly, completely. And that is when discipline stops being something you carry. It becomes who you are. If this reached you, subscribe. More is coming. And carry this question with you today. What would change if you stopped waiting to feel ready and simply began? Thank you for watching. See you next time. And as always, remember to stay in tune with your own mind frequency.